2006. The A&E real-life series, Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, was an instant hit. Its charming look at the rock legend's family life showed that Gene, Shannon, and their kids, Nick and Sophie, are a close-knit family that is both entertaining and relatable. The fourth season of his hit series premiered in June 2009 on A&E. In 2007, a new line of KISS comic books reminded fans of his days as a rock and roll superhero. KISS 4K, the first release by the KISS Comics Group, portrays the band as world-protecting warrior spirits. In early 2008, Gene made appearances on both Donald Trump's Apprentice and ABC's hit primetime show Ugly Betty. And in March of '08, the third season of Gene Simmons' Family Jewels premiered on A&E. Whether he's rocking in stadiums, saving the planet in comic books, or spending time with the kids, Gene Simmons is truly a driving force in entertainment.
Yes, I know you want to rock and roll all night and party every day, Gene, but it's time for us right now. Oh, hey, everybody. Oh, come on, who doesn't have one of these at home? Come on, admit it, I know you do. Hey, and we're spending the next 60 minutes with the real deal. Here, hold this, Neil. Don't even think about opening it. I'm gonna hurt you if you open it. From KISS, Gene Simmons, starting right now, right here on Private Sessions. Come on. You want the best? You got the best. Private Sessions is lucky enough to be spending the next hour with none other than Gene Simmons. Gene, welcome to the show.
What a thrill.
This is, it's such a thrill for me, I have to tell you. I'm so happy we're part of the same family here at A&E.
We are part of the same family?
Yeah, I mean, this is the house that Gene built. Like that one? Well, I'm so excited for your success on the show. It's done such phenomenal ratings, and you're going to be doing another season, of course.
Yep, season 4. We're shooting now.
There again? Yes, please. Okay, that's great.
Oh my God. LOL.
Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. How did that show come about? Did they originally approach you to do a KISS biography?
Half of that's true, half is not. What happened was a few years ago I was releasing my solo record entitled Asshole.
Right.
Which is apropos actually because to a lot of people I am. And I thought I'd beat them to the punch and actually call the album that. It was released on Simmons Records, and so you have to do that.
I like, if I do it though, I'll ruin the microphones.
Yes.
It wasn't a KISS biography, it was a Gene Simmons special, right? Gene Simmons 24/7.
Well, Bio or A&E or any one of the other A&E networks
Yes.
called and wanted to do a Gene Simmons bio, and I said no, because I know what they wanted. They wanted access to the KISS, you know, image, underlying rights, and so on. Okay. And wasn't interested in doing that. But I told them that I was on my way to Australia to do the beginning of a tour, world tour, a few years back. And so I allowed them to follow me, and sort of whatever happened, happened, and they just, no script, nothing. And along the way they met Shannon, to whom I've been happily unmarried to for 25 years, and Nick and Sophie, my 2 gorgeous kids. Our 2 gorgeous kids. I had very little to do with it. Shannon did all the work. And they were fascinated, I think, by what to us is sort of normal, which is that if you have to verbalize it, I'm a contradiction in terms. Mm-hmm. I'm in a rock band that's been around for 35 years, has 3,000 licenses, and has more gold records than any American group in history. And we do very well. We do stadiums and stuff like that. And yet, I've never been high or drunk in my life, and I've never smoked. I just had lunch with my mother, who I worship.
Florence, how is she?
Florence should rule the planet. She's wiser than all the rulers of the world, although she talks like this. How is the orchestra? Mom, the band's fine.
Sounds like little Jaja.
She does have that thing. She's Hungarian. But she'd kick Jaja's ass.
I don't doubt it.
And so I think what people and A&E became fascinated with is this sort of very, very normal, very strict, conservative point of view I have about morality and about my sense of what's right and wrong, and that I will let no one decide for me who and what I am. Which is why where are you going is not a question that's allowed in my life. Where are you going? Who wants to know? The last time anyone ever had the right to ask me that question gave me life, and her name is Mom. And Shannon Tweed is a 21st century woman. She should be teaching all the women in the world how to cut out the crap, stop torturing your guy, don't step in front of him when he's watching television, go to the kitchen and make a sandwich. He doesn't step in front of you when you go shopping and talk to you. Why would you step in front of him when he's busy doing his thing? Mostly she doesn't get involved or care about the little stuff. And women do. Pick up your socks, don't pick your, your toenails, all that small stuff.
It's instinctive, though, as instinctive as men are in certain ways. Though.
Cut it out.
All right, I'll try it. No, I do.
Cut that crap out.
They're all laughing at me at home right now.
You're done. Keep torturing your guy and see how long it takes him to mount your girlfriend, okay? Go ahead, keep torturing your guy.
I'm trying not to.
Yeah, he's not going on his... Every guy out there on the weekends can't wait to hang out with his buddies.
Right.
I can't wait to hang out with Shannon and my kids.
Well, it's obvious because when you watch the show,
No, it's obvious because the woman doesn't torture the guy.
Right.
You girls out there keep
Well,
watching.
she does torture
Oprah
you a little bit, though.
because it's allowed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But more about your show. Were you surprised at the immense popularity of the show? How it's been so
I will
top
tell you
rated?
that when the special, which was called 24/7, came out, I guess the response and the ratings and all that were so good that I was approached right away about doing a show,
Right.
Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. And I said with the following proviso, there are 3 of them actually. I'm going to do it my way. Number 2 is don't tell me what to do. And number 3 is see the above 2.
I like number 3.
Yeah, because, my life and my success has always been about me trusting my gut. 35 years ago, I heard, you're going to put on makeup and you're going to do what with a high heel? Nah, it's never going to work.
So how has the family responded to this? Was it tough to convince them to get involved in the show initially?
Well, there's no,
Did they have any
there's no
reservations?
convincing. We're going to be doing a show, okay.
Oh, so you basically just laid
Well,
down the law. You didn't give them a choice.
Well, what else are you doing in your life? Like, what's your job?
Well, I would be a little nervous if my dad came home and said, by the way, your entire life is going to be on the world to display.
And your point is?
Dad said I have to do it, I got to do it.
In all seriousness,
picked up in 2 hours.
neither
Can you do
Sophie,
that?
Shannon, or Nick are crazy about doing a show.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
it's not.
Thank you
They're
so much.
completely unaffected by celebrity and stardom and stuff like that. It means nothing to them.
Is that because of just growing up with you as dad, basically? They've just been so immersed in the business for so long that doesn't faze
No,
them?
I think it has to do with Shannon. She's got a sense of her feet are firmly on the ground, all 6 feet of her. And she's Canadian, and Canadians are wonderful people. They have they're much more connected to sort of the sense of the simpler life.
All right, I want to get back to something you were saying about being happily unmarried for so many years, which is so obvious when you watch your show. What are your views on marriage? I'm just curious.
Marriage doesn't work.
And how are they formed, by the way? More, because I think a lot of people do kind of have an idea of your views on it.
Well,
but where did it come from?
All men, respectfully, are aware of the same information, intrinsically and biologically. They don't want to get married.
Why?
They just don't. Well, it is biological. When Australopithecus africanus, otherwise known as Australopithecus afarensis, wandered through the plains of Africa 3,600,000 years ago and was discovered in what was then known as the Olduvai Gorge in Tanganyika by L.S. Leakey, they found that this first hominid, this Homo erectus, not saying those words,
No.
wandered through. His way of surviving was to keep going from cave to cave, impregnate as many females as he could before he died to spread his seed. That's biblical. We're just doing the Lord's work. And then as he followed the herds, because they moved around, he would either do that or not survive. Now, if he stayed in one cave, the herds would wander. His gene pool would only be in that one cave, and within 1 or 2 generations, the entire human race would be cross-eyed.
Operative word being gene there.
It is ergo, and because man has been and tends to be promiscuous, that the gene pool is alive. Dalmatians are retarded because the gene pool is kept within there. The healthiest dogs are mutts. And so there's the eternal, you know, sort
The
of
healthiest. Oh, so
torture.
you're saying they're not the finer breeds; it's the ones that mix around.
Always.
Oh.
So what this really about in all seriousness is that there's language, and I speak 4 or 5 languages, and in every language there's this, he's a good catch. You ever hear that phrase? Because he's trying to run the away. Number two is I'm going to get my claws in him, like a beast that's trying to get something that's trying to run
Interesting.
away. I didn't create that language. You did. Why, you know, when women get together, why are men so difficult to get, you know, why don't they want to get, you know, into a committed relationship? Because they don't want to. They want to be left alone to do whatever they want to do, hunt and gather and, you know, and answer to no one. Once they're away from mom and dad, they feel they're free. And so here's the secret, girls. Remember, the guy's just left a household where he was told what to do, what to think, and so can't wait to get out there in the real world. You think he wants to get into a household with you and have you tell him what to do?
All right, listen, I want to share with you something. This
Upside
is the latest from Simmons Publishing.
The latest bestseller, as a matter of fact.
Bestseller, and I actually just started reading it, and there are some very interesting ideas put forth in here about the world's oldest profession.
You mean Ladies of the Night by Gene Simmons on Simmons Books, Phoenix Books.
That's right, a
Look at the
historical and
gold
personal perspective on
of
the oldest profession in the world.
Look at the gold trim, baby.
It's
Yeah.
very pretty. I like it a lot.
I'm going to show you a very nice photo of a fresco, which is not a dietetic drink that Jewish girls in New York drink. That's fresca.
Right. What do you think about how's the feedback been on the book so far? Whoa, hi. We can't show that on TV. Thanks, Gene.
That was in a museum. Look, the oldest profession was one day at the dawn of man, that first Australopithecine woke up in a cave, the female, and she's looking out, and the first ice age is about to come, and it's, gee, I don't like that white stuff. It's cold, and there's no food, and the water is frozen up. So she turns to her male companion, Ugg, probably his name, Ugg.
Ugg.
Yeah, and she says to him, "Tell you what, why don't you go risk your hairy out there, or, you know, risk life and limb, and you go kill one of those things and bring me back some of that delicious mastodon meat." She says that in essence when she's
Sure.
grunting. "And when you bring some of that, I'll trade you some of this for some of that." There and then, before culture, language, currency, before marriage, before anything, the oldest profession was born. The monetization of her sexuality.
Well, I find it fascinating, and I'm just curious if you've been getting different responses from men and women, and what they might be.
Well, men always know the truth. Women delude themselves. Women actually have fantasy figures. No matter how old you get, no matter how mature you get.
You mean not just you?
Well, no, your fantasy figures actually don't exist. Ours do. Yours involves a man with armor, and he's on a white horse, and he only wants you. That's even more of a fantasy figure than Santa Claus. Men's fantasy figures are right down the street at Scores.
Well, it's easy to get there.
That's
I mean,
correct.
you can't just call a guy on a
But
horse
they
to
can
show up.
actually get their fantasy figure. You will never have your fantasy figure. There is no Mr. Right. There's no guy on a shining horse. Why would he ride a horse? Why would he wear armor? And why would he only want you?
Well, on that note, we're going to be back in a moment with more of Gene Simmons right after this. More with Gene Simmons on Private Sessions.
Now, you know, all the other stuff I told you about men and women, stuff like that, ignore everything I said. Put on your high heels, put on your lipstick and your perfume, and just assume that he's there just for you.
I like the sound of that. Thank you.
I thought you would.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit here and go back to the beginning for Gene Simmons. I wanted to start off by talking about your drive. You attribute a lot of that stuff to your mom's notion on how to live life, which I read
All
was
of it.
every day above ground is a good day.
Yes.
And you know, it really, really touched me even more when I found out that your mom was one of the precious few people who are still alive today to talk about the fact that she survived, one of the only people in her family, the Holocaust. And not just the Holocaust, but a Nazi death camp.
My mother, at age 14, was in the concentration camps and saw her entire family wiped out.
You?
Now,
And I wish you good night.
This woman, who also
And I
happens
see
to be
you
my mother, should by
tomorrow. I
rights
love you.
go to
Good
have
night.
every right morally to be able to dislike people, all people, curse God. I mean, just every right in the book morally to not enjoy life itself. And yet, I will tell you, you've never met a more positive person who believes in the goodness of human beings. Doesn't mean that there's forgiveness for Nazis, especially German Nazis during World War II, but she has an abiding faith in humanity and a very clear-eyed notion about every day above ground is a good day, and that all the things that we think are terrible, that torture us, and that guy cut you off in a traffic jam, or your boyfriend left you because he went with your sister or your girlfriend, it means nothing.
So obviously her story has had a major impact in the way you live your life and your family.
Everything I am is my mother. Not because she's my mother, because not all mothers are good. They really aren't. We have this kind of wide sweeping, yeah, it's your mom, you gotta love her. No, actually, she deserves it. She raised me by myself because my father, like a lot of men out there, don't deserve to walk on the ground that she walks on. We are lesser human beings. Men run out on their families, and my father ran out on me and the family when I was
were you,
about
5?
I was about 6.
5 or 6.
And you know, he went on to get married 4 or 5 other times, and I don't think an evil man, but men have a horrific record of making a commitment and sticking by it. Their intrinsic sort of wanderingness takes over, and they become selfish and move on. And I believe in what you say. I believe that what I say, I should be held accountable to. And if I make a commitment to stay with my kids for the rest of their lives, that's where I'm going to be. I'm not going to turn into my father. Institutions are okay, but within those institutions, you have to figure out your path to happiness, because marriage is not a guarantee of anything. But I want to stay with Shannon because I want to stay, not because I have to. And which is what a relationship should be about. You should be together if you want to, and if you don't want to, part as friends.
So it's safe to say that Mom is okay with your current situation.
She adores me, I am the king.
What does she feel about you not being married?
She's clear about it. She understands my moral sense about what I think is important, and my mother's marriages didn't work. She was married twice. I lived with my mother until I was about 18 or 9, actually even later.
Well, it's funny you say that, because you guys moved here when you were about 9, and you didn't even speak English. You moved
Not a
from
word.
Israel to Queens.
And I had never heard of anything. I never saw a television set. The first time I saw a poster was Santa Claus smoking, you know, a cigarette with a reindeer and the stuff. And
You didn't even know what it was, did you?
I never heard of Christ or Christians. I thought it was a rabbi, a guy with a big beard smoking a cigarette. I'm going, oh, that's a rabbi. He must be right because he got the fur on the thing. And later I found out there was a guy whose name was Jesus Christ, and that he was Jewish. I said, of course he was Jewish. He lived with his mother until he was 33 years old. Of course he's a Jewish man.
So when did music come into play here? And was your mom the one who gave you your first guitar?
My
Is that
mom
correct?
gave me all of it.
Yeah.
You're leading the witness, Judge Ito, but I'll take it. You're correct.
I've been accused of worse.
Really? I was watching the Ed Sullivan Show the way millions of others had, and this variety show, before you guys were born, had a group on called the Beatles, who I'd never heard of, and I was fascinated. First I was turned off because I thought their haircuts were silly, and I said, nah, they look like monkeys. And my mother came in and she said, nah, they look like monkeys. And at that moment, there was a singularity. At that moment, I realized that because my mom thought they weren't uncool is what made them cool.
Ooh,
By
right.
66, I formed a band called the Long Island Sounds, and we had other names, and we played locally, and I couldn't play an instrument. I just sang. barely. And if I talk like that, everything's a question. Just be, just mimic what you hear. What time is it? It's all right. It's a bit of a... Or, here I am with my fingers to the bow and all die. You just mimic. You don't have to be an original. Originality is highly overrated. Okay. Just mimic. Do a good mimicry, and you'll get by. And initially, I sang, when the rain comes, you might as well be dead. And they go, oh, that sounds just like that. And then the chicks would come over, chicks and checks.
Hey, that should be the next album.
I like that. Except there are no more albums. But you know...
Or the next book.
The next book.
All right. Well, we got to take a break for a minute, and I have to towel off. We're talking with Gene Simmons here on Private Sessions. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it. The demon's in the house.
KISS was designed to be the Beatles on steroids.
On an all-new season of Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, action, drama, suspense, adventure.
And that's just what happens in the bedroom.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Potty talk. It's always potty talk.
I'm Dr. Love. This is Dr. Pepper Cherry. It has a KISS cherry flavor. It's amazingly smooth. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Now, Gene Simmons on Paul Stanley and KISS. So you were in a couple of bands with Paul Stanley, or maybe just different incarnations of KISS as you were kind of making your way through music when you were younger. It's obvious that his friendship means a lot to you.
Well, it's difficult enough to get along with anybody else. Friendships, marriages, they're all fraught with dysfunction because the people who you care about wind up ultimately and invariably disappointing you. Your best friend doesn't stay your best friend. It's really tough to find friends, much less business partners, that stand the test of time.
Right.
So when I first met Paul, who I've been with now for 35 years, even more, 36, he thought I was full of myself, correctly so. When I first met him, somebody introduced us as, here's a guy who writes songs also. And in my delusional state, I started writing my songs on my own. Nobody taught me how to play guitar. I just sort of figured it out. And in my delusional, full of myself sense, I didn't even for a second consider that any other human being wrote songs. Somehow the Beatles and the Stones and all that, they were different. But real people walked on the face of the earth, didn't really write songs. And so when I first met Paul, somebody said, here's Paul, he writes songs too. And I didn't mean it to come out that way, but I sort of went, oh, really? Let's see what you got. Yeah. And he must have thought I was the biggest who walked, oh, really? Says the king. So he immediately and instinctively didn't like me, thought I was full of myself. He's correct on that.
I was going to say, really?
No, I really, yeah. Who does he think? People have always thought that about me. Who does that guy think he is? Well, actually, it's profound. Who do you think you are?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
If you really think you're all that in the patois of the street, then you are. Part of that is... So anyway, I digress.
No, you don't, though, because you're sparking me on something that I don't want to go away from it, but it's just kind of, you are obviously of the belief that you believe what you are, you act who you are, and what you put out there is what comes back to you.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Is that true?
I'm delusional about myself.
But you wouldn't be who you were if you weren't.
That's
if you didn't
true.
believe
And therein
lies,
that's right, therein lies the sense of self and the self-motivation and the ambition and all that, that invariably and ultimately when somebody becomes something, whether you're a political, religious, or business person or anybody else, you're really not selling the thing that you're selling. It's really yourself that you're selling. Two different vacuum cleaner salesmen with the same vacuum cleaner. One guy's going to sell it, the other one's not. And it's not the vacuum cleaner, it's the salesman. And so I've always been delusional about my looks. I know logically I'm not the best looking guy in the world, but you can't convince me of that.
So tell me about Kiss, the early stages when you and Paul were playing together and when it was Wicked Lester. Was it more of an experiment? And I can't imagine with your, you being known for your hard rock and penning these heavy rock songs.
Well,
you guys were a folk band, kind of, weren't you, initially?
Yes, because at the core of it, Paul and I both started as songwriters. Even before the bands, it was this kind of connection to ABA format, verse, chorus, verse. And the original songs weren't heavy at all. They were Beatlesque and kind of folky, like the Byrds, that kind of stuff. That
Harmonies and things?
Yeah. When we decided to form Wicked Lester, there was no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like, let's get a few guys together and kind of become the New York Doobie Brothers, just one of everything. It didn't matter. Let's just write songs. But we got a record deal right away with Epic Records. I mean, we didn't play anywhere. It was immediate. And then there was a sort of a come to Jesus moment, although I don't necessarily come to Jesus.
It's a term.
It's a term. And Paul and I looked at each other and just kind of went, this is not really what we want to do. So they say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Well, we decided that it wasn't even a bird in the hand, that there was something here that we hadn't fleshed out yet. So we literally fired everybody else. And they said, you can't fire us. We had to deal with Epic Records.
I was going to say, how can you do that?
Yeah, they said, you can't fire us. Okay, then we're leaving the band.
That's right.
A bird by it. So, and then
You found Peter and Ace, didn't you?
we decided to put together the band we never saw on stage. What's missing from these groups on stage? It was showmanship. It was identity. It was uniqueness. You didn't have to be original, but when you saw and or heard this band, I wouldn't want you to be able to connect it to any other band out there.
Right.
How do you make yourself unique? Make 4 kids from a KISS mother, make them all connected, and whatever it is that one is going to wear, each one's going to have to be unique and yet different, and yet they should all feel like they came from the same mother, if you see what I mean.
Yes, yes.
And some of it had to do with the Beatles. When we first saw the Beatles, they just all looked like they came from the same Beatle mother. Nobody was fat, nobody was old, they were about the same size, same haircuts.
Yeah.
So they looked like it was the same family. And that was the sense of it. And KISS was designed to be the Beatles on steroids.
I like it.
Louder, bigger, badder, with bigger heels and all that.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that those heels and all that gear you guys wore weighed, what, like 50 pounds that you had to...
My outfits, I was the stupid one in the band because my outfits tended to be very, very heavy. Paul was the smart one. He would just go shirtless and play guitar. And, of course, jump way up in the air on 8-inch platform heels. But mine tended to be studs and leather and, and...
Dragon boots and...
Dragon boots and areas with sufficient room to house my manhood.
That's right.
With spikes. And see the little pregnant pause there for you kids out there so you understand what I just talked about. Oh, that's what he meant.
We both did that. So no, the concept was amazing, but unfortunately, your record company was at Casablanca Records that you started with. Your first 3 albums didn't do that great, and you guys almost all put each other out of business before Kiss Alive.
The first 3 records came out, and we didn't do singles. We didn't do girl stuff.
Right.
Well, I love you, and no, I don't love you. Okay. I love your sister and your mommy too. How do you like them lyrics? And we just sang the stuff that guys understood about. The real lyric, the real honest-to-God, true lyric. You're a strutter, you want nothing to lose, baby. Thought about the back door, I didn't care anyway. And
rock
all the
and roll
real
all night,
party
every day.
Real guy, truthful lyrics, not, all those lyrics that you girls have heard about. How can I live without you? Actually, very easily. All those lyrics you've heard about are lies. Don't ever believe them.
They were male anthems. They were kind of fist in the air.
They were male anthems, and wherever there are males, the girls came too. You'll
Sure.
never have a career without image and vibe, because a star is bigger than what they do. A star, I'll say that again for you knuckleheads, a star is bigger than what they do. That's what makes you a star. So your heart pounds because you want to see, the lights go out, you want to see them and go, oh, it's Gene Simmons or whoever. It's there before you hear the music. Without that pounding of the heart, you're nobody. You're a Holiday Inn karaoke singer. I've got a #1 song. Okay, you're in Wang Chung. Everybody Wang Chung tonight. You're done. Without the image, you're nobody.
More with the demon himself from KISS in just a moment. P.S. Did you know Gene Simmons actually taught 6th grade in New York Spanish Harlem? It's true. One of his favorite teaching aids was using a Spider-Man comic book. And now you know. Private Sessions will be right back in just a moment. Back to Private Sessions. My guest today is Gene Simmons. What's been the biggest turning point for KISS? I mean, of all these years, there may have been a few, but is there one that stands out for you?
You know, I will tell you that the thing bands fear the most is that the original members in the band will either become the cliche of cliches and succumb to chemicals and drugs and all this kind of stuff, and alcohol, and walk out and or get fired. And you think that without them, the band can't go on. Actually, it can go on. And Ace and Peter, who were just as important as anybody else in the band at the beginning, were either fired or were asked to leave or quit on their own, take your pick, 3 times. And we've toured with them and without them, and we're bigger now than ever without them. And we've had something like 5 or 6 other members that came and went.
Sure.
And ultimately, maybe rock and roll is more like football, that the team is more important than any single member in the band. Yes, me too. If I mess up, kick my sweet ass out of the band and get somebody else with a longer appendage.
There's no I in team. I'm sorry, I just had to let that last statement.
There's no I in team?
There's no I in team, no. But there is an M and an E. Are you writing all this down? Yes. I'm giving you good stuff.
Thank you.
You know, one of the turning points I was thinking of as far as at least just watching you growing up was that 1983 taking off the mask on MTV when you guys performed without your makeup for the first time.
We had 2 new members. We had Eric Carr and Vinnie Vincent.
Yep.
We decided, you know what, it's probably time to take the makeup off, because then you can face your own demons. Is KISS only about makeup and a stage show, or do you still have songs? Is it also about songs? So we tried it.
Did you feel, in your mind, was this going to be a make or break for you, or did you think it was going to take you to a different level?
No, we were already too rich to care.
You did.
But there's no make or break. But
Okay.
I thought we had something to prove to ourselves, and yet it was Paul who was much more comfortable without the makeup than myself. I feel a kindred spirit, even though I'm sort of glib, using big words like gymnasium here. The guy that gets up on stage, me, as the demon, I can talk about in the third person, sort of, but it's every bit a part of me in the same way that the boxer that gets in the ring is the same guy that eats cookies and milk and watches Bugs Bunny.
Right.
Except when your adrenaline kicks in, there's a Jekyll and Hyde transformation. It is the same person, but I know I physically get bigger and stronger when I'm on stage as the demon. The question was, could I connect intrinsically to who and what I am without the makeup? So I didn't know if that was going to be possible.
So it was a little scary for you.
Scary is a girl word. Men don't get scared.
Frightening. What's a good word for scary? I don't get scared.
I shall conquer it nonetheless.
There you go. I like
Thank
that.
you.
I like
So we did it. We just went out there, and for about, let me see, from 84 till 95, we continued without makeup, played stadiums, sold out arenas, had platinum records, and proved it.
Now, KISS isn't just a band, it's also a brand. And I'm just curious, well, first of all, I have some of the stuff here. One of the 3,000 pieces of marketing that you have. But KISS is really the first band that started rock and roll merchandising, didn't they?
Well, we took it on ourselves. So what we noticed early on
Oh my
was
gosh,
that,
Gene, you're on a stamp.
yes, we have our own. Yes.
That's
I-
quite an honor.
Not only that, but I have my own Gene Simmons stamp. KISS was always loudly lambasted by the cynics and the, quote, credible people who believed that it was art. Now, mind you, none of us knows how to read music. Nobody ever studied music theory. We can't transcribe our music stuff. We're knuckleheads. If we weren't in bands, we'd be asking you if you'd like some fries with that. There isn't a person on the chart that can read or write music. We just sort of go through it and we record it as we remember it. We write our own songs, but we're not qualified to do what we do. So for anybody in this world to even use the word art or credibility, they're on crack. So we always approach this as we're going to have an awful lot of fun and there are no rules. Invariably, maybe that's what rock and roll is all about. You're not supposed to have rules. So anybody that says you're not supposed to do that as a band is a contradiction in terms.
That makes sense.
And
All right, well,
so the toys
sorry.
and the games were just an extension of who we are. You notice over here in the artwork, you don't even see guitars.
No, actually,
And that's
it's
precisely the point. The point, and those were album cover artwork. We are bigger than the guitars we play. There isn't a corner of the world where you can go and not know who KISS is, whether you buy the records or not. And that says a lot. We are iconic figures, and there are bands whose records you love, whose members you wouldn't recognize if they paid you to say, who do you think I am?
Sure.
Not with KISS, baby. Every time I go into a restaurant, I'm going to put the back swill on with the special duck butter and stuff like that. I just want some grilled chicken, for God's sakes.
To see more of Gene and what we couldn't show you on air, check out Gene behind the scenes at Private Sessions at aetv.com/private sessions. Stay with us.
What drives Gene to do this? Why is Shannon laughing like this? And why is Gene playing with this? These and other burning questions will be answered on the new season of Gene Simmons Family Jewels. Premiere Sunday, June 7th at 9 on A&E. Brought to you by
Private Sessions. Now a surprise question for Gene from an old bandmate. Take a look.
Hi, this is Bruce Kulick, former guitarist of KISS. And I'm here in LA, finishing up my third solo record called BK3, of which Gene Simmons and his son Nick, who's very talented, have appeared on. And it's very cool stuff, so I'm really excited about my new record. But, Gene, today you're sitting with the lovely Lynn Hoffman, and you're doing Private Sessions. It's a great show. Lynn is a doll. Be nice to her. And, of course, I have a question for you today, Gene. Everybody knows your tongue is gigantic. You don't mind sticking it out and showing it to everyone. Now, there have been many times on the road where fans would show you and show the band their tongue. A little competition for you. So has there ever been a time when somebody stuck out their tongue, a guy or a girl, that just actually impressed you to the point that, oh my, theirs is even larger than yours? Can you share that with us?
Have you ever met anyone with
I
a
have.
bigger tongue?
There was a girl who must have been 5'2". I mean, literally.
5'2" and all tongue.
Yeah. She stuck an appendage out that just defied logic. She used to talk like this because no, I mean, there was just an abundance of tongue.
An abundance of tongue.
Yes.
Ooh! Oh my gosh! Wow! How did you do that? You really can't share that with the rest of the viewers?
Well, the floor's dirty if I stuck out the whole thing.
I actually had a ruler. I forgot to bring it in here because someone asked me.
For what?
I'm sure for your tongue.
Oh.
Yes. Well, because we were. I knew you were going to go there. Someone said, "Did Gene get his tongue surgically enhanced?"
Of course.
And I thought,
of course I
are
got
you
surgery.
kidding?
Of course.
You-
I had my schmeckel made twice as long. Everything's like surgically enhanced. Why is it so big? And God, you of course went to the doctor. Of course I did.
Well, there was the story that you did not.
Of course not.
Okay, all right. I was like, wait
When
a minute.
I was born, the doctor
gullible.
pulled me out by the wrong appendage.
No. All right, with that said, we have another surprise rolling for you. And
Phyllis Diller.
this time it's, well, we just like to,
Ruth
I'm just
Buzzy.
going to keep it surprising. How's that sound?
Okay.
Gene Simmons, Doc McGee here in Nashville, Tennessee. I hear you're on the A&E show this morning. They're interviewing you, and there was something I was telling them, and I have to tell the story. I mean, we've known each other for 25 years. We've gone to restaurants all over the world. And every time, what do? You say, look at the waiter, you go, how do you prepare your chicken? They go, well, we saute it. No. Well, we can broil it. No. Look at me. No. Look at me. I want you to burn it and throw it on the plate. Now, I want to ask you a question. Why do you do that? Why don't you just tell them, burn the chicken, that's what I want, okay? Or why don't you just order normal food?
So clearly you have food issues.
Look, every time I go into a restaurant, it's the sweetest thing in the world. The chefs are usually big fans. Gene Simmons, I'm gonna put the back swill on with the special duck butter and stuff like that. I just want some grilled chicken, for God's sakes. And so when I say, I'll have the chicken, what comes out is that, you know, it's just covered in like Jell-O. You can't even see the chicken in there. It's got so much stuff in there. So over the, you know, I've been hungry. So when you go into a restaurant and say, I'd like some, if I say, let me have some grilled chicken, I'll just put on some extra sauce on it, a little shaving cream, whatever, because he'll like it. Just take a match and put it under and put it on the plate. I just want some grilled chicken.
Would someone please just bring Gene some grilled chicken?
So that's, you know, he's right. I do go into restaurants, and listen to me. You're not listening to me. That's what happens. I'd like some grilled chicken. I actually say grilled chicken. He goes, oh, that's good. We will put on the flambé sauce and the No, listen to me. Grilled chicken, okay? The chef tonight will have his chicken. Listen, God, take the knife. If you, listen, Pierre, if you don't get me just send it to hell and back. Burn it.
You are clearly been scarred by chicken experience.
No, every time I go there.
Veins sticking out of your
Well,
chicken?
the French and everybody else eats raw food. No, we're going to put it through a grinder thing, and then you eat it. Well, aren't you going to cook the thing? Oh, no, it's tatar, mamar, fafa. It's uncooked! Cook the damn thing.
I'm sorry.
Tatar, mamar, fafa. Don't do it with the fancy words. Cook it. Micro it. Do anything. Get rid of the blood. What do I look like, Dracula? Get out of here. Am I right? You know, the only place you can get a decent meal is McDonald's. You go in there, it's never bloody, it's cooked. That's why people go there. You know, I'd just like to bite into a hamburger and McDonald's and have the blood squirting onto the other end. There's no blood. It's a hamburger. It's cooked.
I think my makeup is officially now run down my face. Thank you, Gene, so much. And before I let you, I mean, I know there's probably a ton of KISS fans watching this show right now. What can just let them know, because I know you're just celebrating 35 years together. Is there anything that we can have to look forward to in the coming months?
Let me just say a few clues.
Okay.
IMAX, Blue Man Group, Broadway, Vegas, cartoons, reality shows, and yet all of them are coming. And yes, the worldwide tour that starts this summer, that'll last a year to a year and a half, where we're going to go out there and show all the little boys how the big boys do it. I am sick and tired of these small rock shows. It's time for us to come out there and punish you because you've gotten away with murder. It's time for us to shake the rafters. It's going to be more sound coming off that stage, more fireworks than most third world countries, and enough sound to knock off a few pounds off of a fat girl within 1,000 yards of that stage. You're gonna love it.
All right, and lastly, with you, I've got a couple of true-false questions because there's just not enough time. True or false? Gene Simmons invented chewable vitamins.
False.
All right, true or false? You discovered Van Halen.
I did. They were signed to my production company, Man of 1,000 Faces. I saw them in a small club, accidentally, in a place called the Starwood. I was invited to go see a group called The Boys, but the opening band was a new group called Van Halen, and I immediately signed them. They were about to sign with a yogurt manufacturer who was going to give them money, and I flew them to New York and produced their first 15-song demo at Electric Lady Studios.
At one point, Eddie wanted to be in KISS as well.
Eddie Van Halen did track me down at Record Plant Studios in 1982, and he'd had it up to here with whatever conflict was going on with the band, came down and played me what became 1984, their album, and he wanted to join KISS, and I said, no, don't do it. You need to be in Van Halen.
Smart move.
Yeah.
That was very smart. All right, last true or false. KISS stands for kids in, hold on. KISS stands for kids in sexy suits. True or false?
No, it doesn't stand for that.
Wait, you started smiling though. Was I close?
Not even close. What I've heard is Knights in Satan's Service, Kids in Satan's Service, Keep It Simple, Stupid.
No.
None of that. KISS simply stands for what you do with a pretty girl or with the girl that's closest to you, who becomes the prettiest girl.
Well, no one's going to know what that is because we're out of time, and you're just going to have to watch behind the scenes to find out what happens after the show. Because I am the closest girl next to him. And lucky me, and I'm so glad that you were here for the hour.
You shouldn't start something you're not going to finish.
I know, I shouldn't. See, I'm just really bad that way. But you rub off on people when you're around them.
Yes, I do.
Gene, it's been so great having you here. Thank you so much. And come back again, please.
I shall.
Thank you.
Good for you, too.
Thanks. 1 week from tonight, check out the season premiere of Gene Simmons' Family Jewels.
Now you're talking.
On Sunday, June 7th at 9 p.m., 8 Central, only on A&E.
And that's why it's good to be me.
Move Over Gene Simmons in Vogue is back and better than ever. We're kicking off a month of premieres on Private Sessions.
Catch us next Sunday with all our hits and all those moves you love, and you know what we're talking about.
Then, don't miss Lionel Richie, Vanessa Williams, and Natasha Bedingfield.
It's an all-new June, starting with us in Vogue, next Sunday right here on Private Sessions.